Would you like to live your best life possible, regardless of your imperfections? Discover cutting-edge tools and inspiration to let go of your limitations and expand your life beyond what you've ever imagined. On Imperfect Brilliance, we help you tap into your unique gifts and talents, uncovering and letting your brilliance shine. Join certified facilitators and coaches Betsy McLaughlin and Kathie Williams to delve into different areas of your life, get unstuck, and create the life that is truly possible for you. These joyful ladies have changed their lives by utilizing the tools and techniques they share with you. What if your willingness to acknowledge your brilliance is the catalyst to creating a new reality? When you stop judging you, what else can you create in your life and in the world? Join Kathy and Betsy live every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern to create magical and joyous possibilities for an hour of laughs, questions, tips, and more. We are excited to contribute and play with you.
Welcome to
Hello.
Imperfect Brilliance.
Yay! We forgot to say, who's going to lead the show today?
I'm Kathie Williams, and
I'm
who is this? Yay!
We're the hosts of Imperfectly Brilliant. We're definitely imperfectly brilliant, I would say.
And today's topic is how to stay happy, upbeat, and positive even when those around you aren't. So do you have kids, family members, coworkers, other people who just are not that fun to be around because they're negative or complaining or all of that? Well, we've got your back, and that's what we're going to talk about today. How can you maintain your equanimity and even be happy when they're not? And before we begin the conversation, and Betsy said this is a very timely one for her, so we're going to talk a little bit about us. We've had the radio show for like 3 years, I think, at this point, maybe even more. Yeah, it's got to be more.
Amazing, and how much fun we've had.
Yeah, with all sorts of topics ranging from families and bodies to money and creation and business, you name it. Even selling your house. We did a show on buying a house and selling one, and one on dancing. Oh, we have so many archives on YouTube and SoundCloud and iTunes, all these different places. And beyond radio show hosts, we're coaches and facilitate workshops all over the world. I live on Maui, and in Hawaii. Some people don't know that Maui's an island in Hawaii. So now, if you didn't know that, now you do. And Betsy lives on the East Coast of the U.S. You want to talk a little bit more about that and what else we do, Bets?
Sure. Yes, I'm in a suburb of Washington, D.C., and you want to talk about, the area maybe not being such a joyful place as a whole. We have lots of opinions and attitudes about the politicians and the traffic and just all kinds of stuff. So it definitely, when I said to Kathy before the show started, say, boy, oh boy, is this a timely subject? And many times what we talk about, it's really interesting when we come up with the topics. We're tapping into the energies of what's going on around us. And also, so it's really funny. It's like, oh, that's the topic today. Wow, well, this is right on point. And that happens a lot. So how much fun is all of that? Before we do dive in, just because sometimes we do forget, just to let you guys know how to find us together and individually. So together you can find us. We're on Facebook with Imperfect Brilliance Facebook page. You can also email us at imperfectbrilliance@gmail.com. And then to find myself, I have a website, creatingyumminess.com. And, of course, you can also find me on Facebook and Instagram. Kathy also has an Instagram post. She's a little more active than I am. I try to remember to go in there. But it's fun, to see all the pictures and the posts and graphics and things like that we play with. And then to find Kathy and all of her wonderful creations, that's at meetkathiewilliams.com. And we also can be found at the Access Consciousness website just by searching our name. So those are some ways to find us. Kathy, what's your email address?
It is magicalkathy@outlook.com. And we really do love to hear from you because your suggestions and thoughts inform the shows and even some of the classes we do. I'm constantly asking people for ideas. One lady was in a 4-day foundation class with me. And if you haven't taken a foundation class, it is definitely a life changer. It teaches you to live from question and choice and possibility instead of conclusion and sameness and repeating the old habits and gives so many tools and skills to create your life and to shed the past. And so she was in this 4-day class with me, and she said, Kathy, I recognize that I was making myself wrong for not being one of the people who asked a lot of questions. And she said, yet I got so much out of the class. Then I looked at it in the end, I didn't actually need to ask a lot of questions. Other people asked my questions, or the questions were answered just in the course of the flow of the class. And so she said, would you please do a class, like an online class about, not being the person who speaks up or not being the person who has a lot to say. And so that is coming up in October. And I don't quite have a name for it, but if you're not a person who speaks up and you make yourself wrong for that, definitely check that out. I always put the upcoming classes on meetkathiewilliams.com/upcoming. So that's all just to say that we do love your ideas because, they create more. And if you want to hear about something, definitely let us know, because then we can create either a class or a radio show about that topic.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think I forgot to say my personal email, which is accessbetsy, BETSY, @gmail.com. And then just Kathy's name is with a K, in case you're wondering. So that's enough about us for now. And I'm just so excited about talking about this topic. So how many times are you in a good mood and everything's good, and then you might either get a text from somebody or you walk into a room and you kind of feel like you've hit a brick wall of whoa. And it's oh, what did I just walk into? How many times have you walked in and said, oh my gosh, am I interrupting a conversation here? When they don't even have to be saying anything, right? So I would love to lead off just even with that part, is how aware we all are and of what's going on. In a situation, you walk into a room, you walk into a party, you walk into the restaurant, you don't even actually physically have to be with the people. How many times have you opened up an email, for instance, and you're just kind of hit with this, oh, wow, or a text or a voicemail, and then you kind of react to whatever that energy is. So let's say you get a phone call or a message from somebody and it's an upset call, they're very sad about something. How, when you're in these situations, and this is what we're talking about today, how do you stay you and not go, and how do you stay happy and positive and upbeat, or, whatever you are kind of as your natural state of being, how do you stay there instead of stepping into their world of upset or sadness or madness or indignation or whatever it is that's going on around you?
Wow. I mean, even just you talking about all of that, my body was like, oh, and so much of
Right?
my life has been like that, where I've been really in a good mood, and then I enter somewhere and I'm like, whoa, this is not the party I wanted to come to.
It's like, what happened, right?
Yeah. Gosh,
Yeah.
and how much do we actually buy that we're supposed to get sucked in and we're supposed to be as upset as others? I remember the work of access consciousness has really, really shifted me, and in particular, just having my bars run, and that's an energetic process of 32 points on the head that help to clear and clear your head first off. And dissipate the thoughts, feelings, and emotions of black, yuck, stress, all of that. And so I had been having my bars run for about a year and a half or so. And I remember this time in the car when, my kids were kind of bickering in the back seat, as they do. And my husband just turns to me and he's like, "Doesn't that bother you?" And I was just like, yeah, but it didn't. It's like this space in which something is, quote, supposed to bother you, right? And it really wasn't bothering me. It was just sort of, I could perceive it as, yeah, that's what kids do. They'll work it out. I don't need to get involved. I don't need to get upset. But people expect you to buy the upset or create drama or buy into drama. Yeah, and it sounded like you were going to say something.
I have something funny to add to that, and I'm glad you brought in the whole conversation about children. So I was just on a call earlier today about parenting, where it was they were talking about what do I do when my kids are fighting? And one of the facilitators said, well, here's a story that actually surprised the heck out of my children. She said she had two girls, and they were kind of wrestling, and one was younger than the other, but actually was the younger one was actually bigger in size than the older one. So she said it was a pretty even, match, even though there were a couple of years as apart in age. And she turned to them because they were tussling and fighting, and she's like, you guys, instead of going to trying to separate them and stop it, she said, when I was your age and I was fighting with my brother, I kicked a lot harder than you did. She said what it did was it shocked them both so much. They're like, who are you? What did you do with our mother? That, that she said they actually, I think, maybe did a couple more half-hearted attempts at kicking each other, and then they started laughing, and it changed the whole situation of what was going on. And she's like, and so instead of resisting their upset or trying to stop it or control them and make them stop it, which we all know how well that works when you try to make children stop doing a behavior that they're choosing, right?
Just escalates the drama.
Right, exactly. So she decided to go with humor. And so what would be like the most unexpected thing that you could say to your children that could totally change the situation? So there's a great example of not buying into what is actually going on, what you see going on, and what could you contribute and create to changing that.
Yeah, and so what I'm hearing also from your story, Betsy, is would you be willing to be unconventional? Like, you know, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that goes so against so much of what parents are taught, you know, how
Mm-hmm.
to deal with conflict and things like that. And it turned it on its head, and it really worked. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so, and instead of taking this situation and saying, okay, well, next time a conflict comes up in my family, let me try that. What
Right.
if you just ask the next time something does come up, okay, what's going to be the most effective action I can take here?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes
Right.
the most effective action we can take is doing nothing,
Nothing.
right?
Right.
Being
Mm-hmm.
spacious or whatever the case may be, you know, so but just asking, okay, what's the most effective action I can take puts you into question, and it invites your awareness of, okay, what shall I do here? What can I
Mm-hmm.
do or be here that's going to change this? And that's another great question too. What can I
Yes.
do or be here that will change this? And you know, again, that's applicable not just to family situations, but
Mm-hmm.
to situations with anyone in the office or with road rage or whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, you know, because there is an expectation of that you're, you know, if you're aware of something, like you're supposed to fix it. At least in my world, that's how I grew up.
Oh yeah.
You know, like, right? You have to be a peacemaker, or I have to like solve the problem. Oops, and it's already time for our first break. That was incredibly fast. So thanks,
It
you
was.
guys, for listening to Imperfect Brilliance. We'll be back in a couple of minutes.
I'm excited to continue this part of the conversation in particular. So, see you in a few, everybody.
Free your mind with Om Times Radio. IOM FM.
Om Times Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. Connect at omtimes.com. Om Times, creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Hello, I'm Sandy Sedgbeer, host of Om Times Magazine's flagship radio show, What is Going On? My passion is sifting through information, research, and innovations from new thought teachers, speakers, and researchers, pushing back the boundaries of what we know about life, energy, metaphysics, and the universe. I love shifting perceptions about who we are, why we're here, and how quickly impossible becomes normal when we open our minds, expand our awareness, and accept that the only limits that exist are those we place upon ourselves. So if you're the kind of forward-thinking, eager investigator of what lies beyond the current reality that most perceive, why not make a date to come play with me in the field of possibilities at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time every Thursday, and together we can discover what's really going on.
Hi, this is New Age Grammy winner Paul Avgerinos. Thanks for listening to Om Times Radio, and please support my peaceful healing music with a purchase at iTunes, Amazon, or wherever you shop for fine music. Just put my name into the search engine, Paul Avgerinos. A, V like Victor, G like George, E-R-I-N-O-S. You can also visit me at roundskymusic.com. Thanks for listening, and I'm wishing you the brightest of blessings.
Dad, this is fun. I didn't think I liked kayaking.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it, but I think it's time to head back in.
Okay. Can we come back?
Sure. Hey, be careful getting out of the boat.
It's a kayak, Dad.
I'm going to return the kayak.
Can we walk home?
How about a taxi?
It's a short fare from your neighborhood to your naturehood. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a neighborhood park or green space near you. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the U.S. Forest Service.
Welcome back to Imperfect Brilliance, everyone. This is Kathie Williams here with Betsy McLaughlin, and we're having a conversation today about how to stay positive even when those around you aren't, and even when they kind of want to pull you into the drama. What can you do about that? So, Betsy, you brought up the idea right before we came to the break about not what if you're aware? Well, if you're aware, do you actually have to do something about that awareness?
Right.
And I'd love to explore that even more.
Yes, for sure. So I was saying, that how many of us learned to be the peacemaker or learned to be the problem solver. And so here's the question to ask yourself, just because I'm aware of it, do I have to do anything with what's going on? Do I have to solve this situation? Do I have to solve the problem? And so in those questions, and one of the questions that we have shared with you all before, there's a couple of questions that you can ask shorter than what I just said, which is, what is this? What's going on here? So you kind of get an awareness of what's going on, and then, can I do something about this? Can I change this? And if so, how? So instead of immediately going in, putting your toolbox on and going in to solve the problem, if you stop and ask these questions, and another one that I'd like to throw in there too is, are they even asking for you to do anything?
Mm-hmm. Right? Well, and even if they are they really willing to have that? Mm-hmm. Right? Are they really willing to receive? What are they willing to receive? Mm-hmm. 'Cause sometimes people ask for something, but they're not fully willing to receive what you could give. And so we just have to be aware of, what is this person really willing to receive?
Yeah, the example that popped in when you asked that was even, the arguing children in the car. Where one of them will go, Mom, so-and-so is looking at me, and it's, well, do they really want you to do anything about this, or are they pushing buttons trying to get their sibling to react, and or the parents?
Yeah. And so when we're looking at this conversation about what is the most useful action to take here? What's going to create the greatest possibilities? That's actually a question I use frequently with, okay, what words do I reply in an email, or what do I, what action do I take today on this project? What's going to create the greatest possibilities? So it's a great one for relationships, and it's a great one for creation, and even choosing whether to go to Safeway or the health food store, right? Okay, what's going to create the greatest possibilities? It might surprise you when you ask the question, because you'll get an awareness. One day I was driving and it was Target. And I said to myself, I don't want to go to Target. I want to go to Whole Foods. Yet I had asked the question. So I went to Target, walked in, and saw a friend I haven't seen in 4 years.
Wow.
And then, ended up getting something else that was really useful for me that I couldn't have found at Whole Foods. So, when you follow your little nudges, usually it's useful. So that's a great question to ask. And again, coming back to what we said in the first part of the show, sometimes you might get taking no particular action is the greatest thing. Not making their upset, not making their unhappy, not making their, emotional state or drama wrong. Right? What if you didn't make it wrong? What if you said, okay, this is how they are right now. This is going to pass.
Yes, totally.
Because when we make it wrong, we actually give it energy.
So would you explain that a little bit more, Kath?
Yeah, well, okay. If you're pushing on a door, right? If you're pushing against something, you're actually giving it energy. Right? I'm pushing against it. So let's say someone's in a bad mood and I'm making it wrong. If I'm making it wrong, I'm focusing on it. I'm giving it energy. But if I'm like, oh, okay, that'll pass, and I go look at the sky or go fold the laundry or, like just let them be with it, and I have no point of view about it, I'm no longer giving it energy. I'm not feeding it.
So you're not adding fuel to the fire.
Fuel to the fire. Yeah, energy. Like we've heard, we've all heard this. Everything is energy. And that's one of the ways you can really use it. Like not just saying everything is energy, but recognizing, when I'm making this thing right, whether that thing is a political party or someone's attitude or a book, when I'm making it right or I'm making it wrong, both are giving it energy. Where if I'm just neutral about it, I have a friend who says, I'm Switzerland. I'm just neutral.
I've got my neutral flag going.
Yes. Yeah. You're not giving it energy. You're just letting it be, and it can dissipate
I love
faster.
that. I love that so much. And there's so many really layers to this conversation, and along with not giving it energy, and what else can happen is, let's say, so you're not aligning and agreeing with so-and-so's argument or the awful thing that happened to so-and-so, and you're staying Switzerland. So then what happens if you get judged for staying Switzerland? Like, how could you not, whatever, right? So what do you do if you're being judged for being Switzerland?
Again, kind of, okay, I'll tap in with myself. What's going to create the greatest possibilities here? What can I say or do, Because sometimes it's really, someone says, how could you not do whatever? How could you not say something about that? You say, you know what? I can really see your point of view. I see that. And I recognize that saying that was going to upset the other person even more or whatever it is. Like, finding a way to not perpetuate drama. Like, what is going to be the most effective thing I could say right now? What can this person hear? And sometimes it might be you need to pretend to have drama for 5 minutes or 20 seconds. And that's actually going to create the greatest possibilities. It doesn't mean you have to buy the drama as true.
Well, I think there's a lot of times, too, where you talked about that piece of acknowledging. And so many times people, they want to be heard. They want to be acknowledged. And it doesn't mean that they want you to agree with everything they're saying. But when so when you acknowledge that you hear what they're saying, that goes a long way, a lot of times, to dissipating whatever their feelings might be.
It really does, Betsy. I mean, people invest so much in being right. So much. So if if that is what's causing them to be upset, the need to be right, then let them be right.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean you're wrong. It just means in their eyes, they're right. Like, I had someone texting me some really, like, it's a friend, and they were kind of upset, and texting me some agitated texts.
Mm-hmm.
And, I just agreed with them at one point, and it dissipated the whole thing. I said, I'm sorry, you're right, and I'm wrong, right? And that just blew over the whole thing, allowing them to be right. And then we could have a conversation that was more chill. And that person no longer had to prove the rightness of their point of view.
Mm-hmm. Wow. And, so when you're not investing a lot of time in promoting your point of view, like what else then could you be spending your time on?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean,
so,
it took 20 seconds for me to say, you know what, I was wrong. I was wrong. You were right.
Yeah.
And make them so happy.
Well, and it's so much about sometimes like looking at the other side of the street or the other side of the coin or, there's other things that we have heard where if you can remove yourself from your point of view, right, get yourself out of your point of view and look at the possibility that there might be other points of view or other viewpoints or vantage points, and none of them are right and none of them are wrong, then what? Like, oh, okay. And so it really does lessen that need to be right. And, I even wonder, like, that whole need to be right, what is that really? And, so everywhere that you have bought that as something that is very valuable in your life, would you be willing to look at it outside of your point of view?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why earlier I said, I used the phrase, I see your point of view.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can see it that way.
Mm-hmm.
When I say that, it doesn't mean I agree with it.
Mm-hmm.
I can just see it.
Mm-hmm. Right. And that's where the person feels heard, they feel acknowledged, and that goes a long way for many, many people.
Yeah. Yeah. So many of us are just seeking to be heard and seen and acknowledged.
So true.
And so many people think if they finally get things right, then they will. and
Yes. And that's kind of a hamster wheel that I certainly was on for a long time, and I can still jump on that hamster wheel. And it's, and then I ask the question too. It's like, what am I trying to prove here? And that will get me to be like, oh, what am I doing here? Like, is this a contribution? And it's like, oh, well, maybe it isn't. Maybe it is. And I'll ask those kinds of questions and lots of other questions. And there's another great question about that we have shared before, and it's wonderful. And it's what's right about this I'm not getting.
Yes.
So it could be a situation where you're just kind of scratching your head and you're just not getting it. Or what? And if you ask that question, it's kind of like, oh, I wonder what is right here that I am not seeing. And so that starts to open up, doors that you may have closed, that you didn't want to see something, or you were unwilling to be aware of something. And when you ask that question, you're changing what you might not have been willing to be aware of or look at. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay.
And one of the things that just kind of popped into my head is one of the people on Facebook, a listener on Facebook mentioned it's her kids. It's her kids that you know, if they're upset, she'll likely be upset. And one of the things we've got to look at is going into the cesspool with them actually helpful? Right? Like, is jumping in there and swimming around helpful? And I mentioned earlier, sometimes you can pretend. Not even pretend, but like, you know, like not be in the drama, but recognize that the space that they're in and the upset that they're in, and match the intensity of that a little bit. Because we all know when we're upset and someone comes along and they're like, oh, it's okay, don't be upset about that. You're like,
right. That pushes more buttons. Exactly.
Yeah. Get out of here. Go take your happy party somewhere else. But not here. And so if we can match the intensity of them, that whether it's like, oh yeah, I've been in that space before, and that is mean. You know, what they did is mean, or yeah, that's so frustrating, or whatever it is, and match it first before trying to make it better. Sometimes that's going to be the most effective thing we can do. Because coming in and whistling and pretending all is well when they're furious is not going to work.
We'll be back in a couple minutes. Thanks, you guys.
Connecting you with the best of the conscious minds in the world. Om Times Radio. IOM FM.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free. AscendingHearts.com.
Hello, I'm Lisa Berry. Join me every Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time for Light on Living. A chance to see new, hear different, and feel more as I shine the spotlight on all the ways to lighten the load of life's challenges. Light on Living is your link to that new way you're looking for, that new understanding that will enhance your life, and that positive connection that will support your growth. So join me and you'll gain insight and start to see things in a new way that motivates you.
Hi, this is recording artist and composer Yuval Ron, inviting you to a voyage through the chakras, a new double album of guided meditations to transform your life, a sublime musical medicine for nourishing inner peace and reaching to your higher virtues. Get it now at metamindfulnessmusic.com. METTA mindfulnessmusic.com.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. This cat makes me make art. He's always motivating me to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. He's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
Keyboard Cat, YouTube star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Start yours today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Hi, everybody. So grateful you guys are listening to Imperfect Brilliance. Betsy McLaughlin here with Kathie Williams. Today we are talking about how to stay happy when others around you might not be. And I know that I used to be, if somebody was upset, I would get upset. If somebody was sad, I would get sad. And it's really so much easier in my life to practice these tools that we talk about every week. And Kathy and I do live and practice these tools. We are by no means perfect in using them.
Speak for yourself.
That's the name of our store. I know. I was like, oops, maybe I should have just said I'm by no means perfect.
Oh, goodness.
And I'm so grateful that no matter what I'm choosing, in whatever time it is, I can always choose something different. So if I choose to jump into the cesspool that you started talking about right before the break, I can jump in there and then I can go, oops, I can stay in there. Or I can use some of the tools that we have talked about on today's show and many other tools that we've talked about on our 3 years of this show that Kathy mentioned earlier. And I can do something to change it. And there's been times, Kathy, where I haven't wanted to change it. And
I hear you.
That's right, and that's okay. Like we're not sitting on our phones, telling you guys that you have to do this and you have to do that. These are all suggestions. And there have been times when I've been like, nope, I'm going to be in this mood and I don't want to change it. But I'm very clearly making that choice. And, one time my husband looked at me, he's like, really? I was like, yeah, I think right now, like what I was getting, I was really just, I don't even remember anymore, but I was getting, nope, it's going to be like this today. Tomorrow's going to be different. And the next day I woke up and I was back to me. Other times it's been like, yeah, give me 5 minutes, give me half an hour. Whatever it is, the difference for me now is I can laugh about it, and I know that it is a conscious choice I'm making. So if I choose to stay angry or I choose to, curl up in a ball and cry, and I'm like, let me just get this out of my system or whatever it is that I'm choosing, when I realize what I'm doing and I know that I can change it and I choose not to, that's okay too. So there's no longer the litany of judgment that I would do it myself for whatever I was doing.
I think that is so key. Because sometimes we'll enter the drama with someone else, or sometimes maybe we won't, and we look back and we think, oh, I should have done that different. Oh, I should have done this, and we blame ourselves, or we have guilt, or whatnot, and a huge key, and for me, it came back to the foundation class, but some people might get it faster. It is that piece of like, you don't have to beat yourself up. You just choose again, and there's always another choice available, and now you have more information. Right? Oh, you didn't choose that time. Okay, you're feeling upset about it or whatnot. Nope, I just have more information. Now I can choose something different. Maybe in the future I'll, say that thing that I would have said or wanted to say but didn't. It's like, what if you didn't have to make yourself wrong anymore? And just recognize that everything, each choice, whether, you loved the choice or, regret the choice, it all has given you more information. And so if nothing were wrong or nothing were right, what would you choose from this point forward?
Yes. That question is so freeing for me, because I spent most of my time either making myself right or making myself wrong. So it was a lot of hard work, Kathy.
Yeah, life is hard when you're doing that. Honestly, it really is. And I can't, if you haven't taken a foundation class, they are all over the world, literally. And, I have one coming up in Sacramento starting on Saturday if you want to jump in, or next month in Hawaii and March in Hawaii as well. And again, Betsy has some classes too, and you can find all of those at accessconsciousness.com, and then / her name or my name, or just look up on the site for a class near you. But these, it's just so helpful to start to get out of judgment of yourself. And when you do, the possibilities for creating what you desire, creating more fun, creating more of what you do want, are vastly increased. So, and that's what that class did for me. And I've, taken it a lot, and then facilitated it over 20 times, and just see the same for people, that like, wow, it just sheds so much crap and opens the door to amazing possibilities.
It really, really does. And it's such an amazing, and every class is different, no matter how many times you've done it. I've taught it many, many, many times myself. And a person who's taken, I think she's taken like 15 foundation classes, took one from me. And she's like, oh, my God, I can't believe how much I'm still getting out of these classes. And
so cool, isn't it?
It really is. And every time we teach it, we're facilitating ourselves right along with everybody else.
Yeah.
And it's such an amazing gift, such an amazing gift. And, so if this interests you at all, the first thing would be to get your bars run, as Kathy mentioned earlier. And that alone can really help you with a lot of stuff, that it releases things from you and your body that you didn't even know were in there. And it's like you don't have to understand, for any of the stuff that we're talking about, you don't have to understand how it works. See if it works for you. Are you willing to try it? Are you willing to ask these questions and play with different possibilities? And I think you probably are if you're listening to this radio show, right? So you're curious, and your curiosity, where can it take you? So the energy of getting your bars run and having thoughts, feelings, and emotions dissipated from you and your body is such an amazing experience. I remember the first time that I had it done, a friend called me and said, hey, I think you'd really like this. And I was like, oh, okay. It intrigued me. So I went online and I looked for somebody in my area. Like Kathy said, you can get that from the Access Consciousness website. And I went and had a session. And afterwards, I was like, I don't even know what happened. I really have no idea. And what was really neat, like I said, you don't have to know. I just knew I felt such space. And there wasn't all the chattering in my mind, all the negative stuff and all the blah, 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 that I usually heard constantly. And I was like, whoa. And so from that, I was like, I need to learn more about this. And then I went and took a class, and then took another class and said, oh my gosh, just imagine. And I kept having these kinds of experiences where it was just so relaxing. And I was like, wow, if everybody, would have this, how different the world would be. And that's where I started. And I was like, I just want to contribute this to anybody who's interested.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what it comes back to when we're with people who are negative and we would like to be positive is one, what's going to create the greatest possibility? How can I respond, or what can I choose? Sometimes it's remove myself from the situation. Sometimes it's even, wow, is this person actually, I've looked at this recently with someone in my life, are they the same contribution that they've been in my life? Because, for some time, we really like had a good connection and would kind of contribute to each other and increase each other's happiness. But then it became weird, and there became a point at which I had to look at, like, is this actually adding to my life, or is it time to let this friend go? Like, the friendship has run its course. And of course, when you're with work colleagues or something like that, that might not be a possibility for you. But I had a coaching client. She became the manager of a small group. When she was promoted, she became their manager, and they did not like that. They were not happy that she became their manager. And so we worked together for several months on this. And you know what? By the end of the 3 months or so, they were bringing her flowers. They would go out to lunch together. You know, it's like, what catalyst for transformation. Yeah, it was amazing to be a part of. Yeah, so what catalyst for transformation can you be? And that might just be bring in donuts one morning for your negative coworkers or whatever, you know?
Right.
Like, how can you shift their world and be that interrupt of the negativity and invite a different possibility?
Yes. And you being you and being that invitation, you know, and everywhere that you think that you can't make a difference, think about, I love this analogy that I heard one time. If you think that you don't make a difference, think about when a mosquito is buzzing your face. Right?
Love it.
Something so little, right? And it's buzzing you and it won't leave you alone, right? So something so little can get your attention. So, and it's just kind of a funny little analogy, but it's true. So, you know, everywhere that you think you don't make a difference, everywhere that you think you don't have an impact, would you be willing to acknowledge your greatness and your contribution, that Kathy just talked about, with everybody in your life, people you know and people you don't know?
Yeah. You know, the other thing that I'm just seeing, Abby has a question for this show on Facebook, and it says, what energy pull do you do with people who are not happy? And, you know, that's such a great question. We've addressed energy pulls and energy flows on a show before. And, you know, I have a bunch of shows up at my site, meetkathywilliams.com/radio. So you can find a bunch of the shows there, and I'll make sure that one is near the top so you all can access it near the top in the fall of 2018. Now, if you're listening to this 3 years from now, can't be sure it'll be at the top, but you can access it there. And you know what? That's the question to actually ask, Abby. So what energy pull or energy flow shall I do here? Like, what's going to create the greatest possibilities? Because we can't flat out say that contributing, that gifting, sending this person who's crabby energy is going to make them happier. But it might. You know, so, or it might be pulling their energy a little bit. That's going to make them happier. And of course, you know, we're seeing this question kind of at the end of today's show, but we did a whole hour about what are energy pulls and energy flows. And essentially, like, when someone is needy, let's say your mother is needy or your child, and they're demanding of attention, even if they're, you know, 3 countries away, you can actually flow them energy like a big wave or a fire hose of energy to give them what they require from you. And you're never going to be depleted, because as long as you know that you can't be depleted, you're tapped into the biggest thing there is. And one thing the other thing that I really invite people to do when people around are negative or in a bad space is expand out. Because the happiness and the contribution and the peace that's available is bigger, is vaster than anyone else's negativity could ever be. And so if you'll expand to expand your awareness beyond the building you're in, beyond the country you're in, beyond this planet, bigger than the solar system, and you tap into what's truly available, there's such a space of ease. So, wow!
Truly, truly.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much. We're so grateful for you, and we will be back next Tuesday with another fun topic. Have a wonderful week.
Thank you, everybody. Enjoy being the space of ease and possibility, regardless of who's around you.
Yeah.
Have a wonderful week, guys. And we'll be back next Tuesday.